Hello everyone and welcome back to a special episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. And today is a very special episode because it's my first AMA ever. The channel just hit 10,000 subscribers, and just as a massive thank you to you, I just wanted to be able to answer any questions you may have because I've never done this before. But just to start things off, I just want to give the deepest of thank yous just for all the support, all the kind words. Genuinely, my original reasons for starting YouTube, I kind of met those goals a while ago, but a big reason that keeps me coming back is the community of friends that I've made here, and I just want to thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart, from my family to yours. Thank you for everything. But without further ado, I just want to go ahead and jump in. These are questions that were posted to me on Twitter and YouTube. So starting off, Maverick asks, what's your least favorite RPG or any game in general, or a game that I've beaten? Also, would you like another towel for the next RPG game you're looking forward to? Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I do tend to spurg a little bit on these games. But, golly, the next big game I'm looking forward to, golly, is probably going to be the remake of Final Fantasy Crisis Core. God, I'm really excited to see whatever lore tidbits they add to that. Now, the first question is kind of a big toughie. My least favorite RPG. I don't often beat games that I really just hate, but there was one that I was really hopeful for and was just disappointed with it. And I think that was maybe not the most outlier as in like my least favorite of all time, but Ray Gigant for the PS Vita. I had a lot of hopes for that RPG. It's a pretty niche title, but I just felt it was a little too introductory and repetitive. I would say it's probably a great RPG for someone who is just brand spanking new, but ultimately I think I set myself up for failure, and I was just very much bored with that game by the end of it. But yes, but thank you so much, Maverick, for all the support, and love the questions. How to Game Differently asks, darn, your channel is growing so fast, well deserved. My question would be, if you got a chance to spend a day with any JRPG character, who would it be and why? Also, bonus question, what's the one thing you would want to improve in the Persona series? Oh god, these are tough questions. Now, I would say the character I would love to spend the day with would be Sylvando from Dragon Quest XI. Genuinely just a wonderful human being, and I think he would be the best friggin' friend on the planet. Literally, he just made me happy, and I was so shocked to find out so many people just don't like him or find him annoying, but my god, I crack up. Even my wife thinks he's funny. I was tell her stories about it. But the one thing I think I would like to improve on the Persona series, now, mind you, the Persona series is pretty doggone close to perfect for me. But one thing that I think would be interesting to integrate into it is kind of, and it might be a little immersion breaking, but I would like an opportunity to just go and fight and explore without wasting time. And I know that's a little weird or may defeat the purpose of the calendar system. And while I do love the calendar system with like building your confidants and stuff like that, I do think something that would make it just much more fun, and if I just want to jump in and just kind of turn my brain off and fight but not feel like I'm wasting a day, would be the ability to maybe test out builds or farm some and such like that. Again, that one's a little iffy, but that's the one that comes to the mind first with the Persona series. Palomino Blue, what hardware and software do you use for your videos from capture card to editing? Any tips and tricks to reduce the time editing when working with such with massive games and so much footage? Honestly, this was the hardest thing, like just from a practicality standpoint, for me to learn in terms of just how to optimize editing. But just your first part of your question, the hardware I use Adobe Premiere Elements. I did have to pay for it. There are free programs out there like DaVinci Resolve, which do a lot similar, but I was just very uneducated and I didn't know where to find the right answers in terms of hardware. That said, Adobe Premiere Elements is a very basic editing program, but it just makes being able to edit and cut down content or use green screen effects or different things like that very easy and very beginner friendly. But again, it is a paid software, not as much as the others, but again, I would look at probably DaVinci Resolve in terms of editing just to start off. And my editing software, I do have an Elgato HD60. It's the older previous gen model, but what's excellent is my laptop is pretty old, and so a lot of the rendering and the capture card does a lot of the heavy lifting, and then it just downloads it straight to your hard drive, and it's very easy to just plug and play from there. But in terms of learning how to edit faster, I'm kind of a perfectionist with myself. I usually keep the harsh critiques to myself and not others, but I just had to get to a point where I said, quit trying to make this 100% perfect and just plow ahead. And over time, you get faster and being able to deliver your thoughts more concise. I try to make note of things that I find that are difficult to edit around, like maybe gaps or coughing or things like that. You learn to just work around it, and then after a while, you can just cut it down to a more manageable sense. But I remember one of my longest videos, I spent about 21 hours on it, and I'm a weekly upload channel, and I was like getting no sleep that week, and I was just like, I can't keep doing this. And kind of hitting that point kind of forced me to just reevaluate my perfectionist tendencies. And I feel like YouTube became a much more manageable and fun at that point. But I hope that in some way helps you kind of point you on the direct path. Magus asks, where would you rank Xenoblade 3, oh god, among the other Xenoblade games? What would you like Monolith Soft to work on next? And thank you for all the great content and congrats on the channel growth. Thank you so much, Magnus. That's so kind of you. Now, Xenoblade 3, I friggin' love this game. And I think from a technical standpoint, from a story delivery and just a whole package, I would say it is a front runner to be the clear best entry in all of the Xenoblade games. That said, Xenoblade 2 has such a sacred kind of pact with me. I was playing at a very kind of difficult time and such like that, and it helped me with a lot. I love that game. I just melded with it so much. So I would probably put Xenoblade 2 at number 1, Xenoblade 3 as of right now at number 2. We'll see what happens with time, and then Xenoblade 1. Now, mind you, for anyone major Xenoblade 1 fan out there, I friggin' love these games so much. There's a hairbreadth difference between the placement there. If you ask me the same question next week, that might change up anyways. But what I would love to see Monolith work on next, I don't think I'm ready with how excellent Xenoblade 3 ended to progress past that trilogy just yet. I really think Xenoblade Chronicles X needs to be remastered. That would be the most likely scenario that I would love. However, it would be excellent if Xenogears and Xenosaga could get back in Monolith's hands, but that would take a miracle. But anyways, hey, a JRPG fan can dream, right? Kamo asks, favorite gaming moment ever? Favorite gaming moment this year? Big fan, love your content. Thanks so much, Kamo. Let's see here. My favorite gaming moment of all time. I would say the entirety of playing Final Fantasy VII with my brothers. That is the most purest moment of gaming. Just we all gathered around the CRTV and made it through that game, and it was a heavenly experience. I just genuinely, I will remember playing that game for the rest of my life. A big moments that stand out for me, the first time we stumbled across the big weapon, that terrified us, like Ruby Weapon and stuff like that. Oh, that was so scary, but so cool. And then my favorite gaming moment this year, I was just looking at the games I beat this year, and I'm not like by any means a machine that has beaten a ton of games. Some people are, in triple digits for games they've beaten. But I beat a lot of games this year. Huge highlights for me would be some of the emotional, devastating moments of Nier Automata, playing Dust Diver 2. That just was so much friggin' fun to me. I was not expecting that game to allow me to control the entire party. I was enraptured by that game. I loved it so much. I think a runaway hit for me, a huge outlier I just did not see coming, was finally beating the 7th Dragon series. The music in that and beating that game, it was a huge fist pump moment, very epic final boss fight. I I was genuinely sad when all those games were over, though. But, oh, God, I did beat 13 Sentinels this year, and without any spoilers, the final kind of reveal of that game, I'm going to give that probably Game of the Year. As of right now, as I continue to think through it and compile my favorite games and moments of the year, I'll definitely reevaluate that once we get closer to, January and such. But again, very tough questions. Thank you. Poofy Rain asks, what is your top JRPGs on the GBA that you want to see in the current Nintendo platforms? Okay, right off the bat, I would love to see Golden Sun come back. I think that is the tip of the spear in terms of the GBA's JRPG catalog. I think Golden Sun, it would do wonderful, especially if we could get like an HD 2D remake. Again, I know it originally came out on the Super Nintendo, and I have hammered this point into the oblivion, but Final Fantasy VI, I know it's on the Wii U store, but, Wii U numbers and Switch numbers are just kind of two different ball games, unfortunately, as much as I love the Wii U. And I think that Final Fantasy VI, even more so than just a pixel remaster, I want that to come back in full force. I know that's not technically originating from the GBA, but Golden Sun and Final Fantasy VI are right up there for me. The jokester Mr. J asks, who or what influenced you in life that made you so passionate about gaming? What's your biggest regret in gaming, something you sold or missed out on, and life advice you'd give your younger self? Oh, okay. Wow. Heavy questions. Excellent. I would say the biggest influences on me, I first went over to my cousin's house back in like the early 90s, maybe 1990, or obviously, I don't know an exact date, but the first game I ever saw was him playing The Legend of Zelda, and that's what started it. But I would say what made me have such a deep emotional connection to it, and I know I've alluded to it earlier, and if you've watched my top 10 favorite games of all time, really, Final Fantasy VII, playing it with my brothers, we connected so well on that. And, time can be pretty cruel and vicious, but I will always have that deep emotional connection to that game, and it just means the world to me. Now, my biggest regret in gaming, something you sold or missed out on, every time I think about trading in my Fat Boy PS3 that was backwards compatible, it's proof time travel doesn't exist, because I'd go back and slap myself. I mean, it still haunts me to this day. There's a lot of games that I traded in around that time. You do what you got to do, and it's a story time for another day. But man, I really miss that Fat Boy PS3 so bad. I would love to have it back. But hey, c'est la vie. Life happens. And life advice I'd like to give to my younger self. I would say quit sweating the small stuff. Cherish the small moments in life. And learn to relax, man. Chill out. Quit taking everything so seriously. And I know that's weird, but my father always kind of told me I was born old, and sometimes you just gotta laugh at stupid stuff and shrug it off, but that would probably be it. GameCube Galaxy, first off, congrats on the massive milestone, very well earned. So I have 3 questions. What made you get into YouTube content creation? Were there certain channels that influenced you in creating content? And what is your favorite RPG for the GameCube or 6th gen? Oh man, I love these questions. I was thinking about these pretty hard. Now, what got me into YouTube was I was in a pretty unique situation in my life where my family and I were traveling constantly. I hadn't seen my friends very much at all. I was feeling very lonely, and I was playing these games, at night and such like that, and I was just very homesick, and I just wanted to be able to share that passion and talk to somebody about games. So I was like, I will start making a YouTube channel for reviews, but the channels that always influenced me the most, I would say would be Happy Console Gamer and Metal Jesus Rocks. Now, in particular, the reason is because I feel like they were always excellent at making it feel as if you were sitting down in their game room and just chatting about games. The passion and excitement for gaming was always there. Very kind individuals, and I just very much respect them, and especially Metal Jesus Rocks for his ability to challenge himself with filming and such like that. And it's something that I think going forward with the channel, I would like to incorporate the camera more and not just gameplay footage. I know that sounds weird for a gaming channel, but it's fun to get out with your friends, and it's fun to see games and stuff like that physically. I very much am in love with that aspect of gaming. That's why I'm such a physical gamer, as people flame me in the comments sometimes. But, I love being around games. I love talking about games, and just to be able to have that warm, inviting atmosphere is what just kind of speaks to me so much. Now, my favorite RPG for the GameCube. Now, during the GameCube's initial run, I was very bad about not playing JRPGs at that time, or RPGs. I was really into like the Resident Evil games at the time, so I missed out on a lot of the quality of the GameCube at its time. But in retrospect, having played it since, Baten freaking Kaitos, oh my god, I love that game. I'm honestly, not to be a Switch port beggar, but hey, bring it to Switch. But great questions. Thank you so much. Sega Brains at Sega Blocks asks, congrats on the milestone. You've come so far since day one, and it's been amazing to see. And thank you so much, Sega Blocks, for just the support along the way. If anime, video games, and related nerd hobbies were never a part of your life, what would be your hobby of choice? And adding to it, what hobbies outside of those do I currently still have? I would say if gaming and all that stuff wasn't an option, I guess movies would be, but I was really big into movies back in the day. I was kind of like a Rolodex for movie quotes, but I've since really slowed down on watching new movies. But I would say I love camping and I love backpacking and hiking. I would definitely do that more. But having a family and a younger kids and stuff like that, it can be difficult to, find time and stuff like that, which I need to make more time for that. But now if those weren't an option, I would say I would get more into hiking and backpacking. Again, I used to love going out, strap the tent and everything to your back and go out and hike and camp for a night or two. That was so much fun. Me and my father used to do that almost every weekend, and I love those memories, and I would love to do them more again, but my father's getting older and stuff like that. But outside of that right now, I still do love to read horror novels and fiction and stuff like that. Intern Mom asks, what thing has made you the most proud in this YouTube journey, and what disappointed you the most? Ooh. This is a tough one. Okay, so the thing I'm probably most proud of on the YouTube journey is just not giving up. There were a lot of steps along the way where you just get this huge check to your determination to keep going. You'd spend forever on something, and, right out of the gate, it's got more dislikes than likes, or you got a lot of people bashing it in the comments or such like that, and you're just like, oh man, I thought for sure this would resonate with somebody. But you just have to kind of look past that. I would say the most disappointed I probably ever was, there was a moment where kind of those React Twitch channels, somebody watched the channel and kind of made a little bit, kind of poked fun at the way I talk and such like that, and how fast I talk. And I never really forgot that. So every time I go in to edit videos and stuff like that, I'm hoping I don't have to do it too much for this AMA, I would cut out gaps in the way I talk. But anyways, that was probably the most disappointed I ever was. Not to end on a negative note, the thing I was probably ever most proud of was just not giving up. If you are persistent, if you're interested in doing YouTube and you're persistent with it, there's going to be a lot of setbacks, but eventually you will find a really cool group and community that will in some way gravitate with you, or even if they may not 100% agree with you, they're not psychotic about disagreeing with you. And that really makes it worth it. Getting into YouTube, I really kind of thought a lot of the enjoyable aspects of it would be different than what they actually are. I thought it would be really cool feeling having a video break 100 views or 1,000 views and on and so forth. And yeah, it's really cool to hit those big milestones, but having the same group of people, pop in for every video just to say hey or chat about games, like that's what really keeps you going. Because, YouTube can definitely feel a little cumbersome at times, but I've kind of grown to love and appreciate kind of the quiet moments at night when everybody's asleep and I'll be up editing. It means a lot, and I've had a genuine blast doing it. But thank you so much for those questions. Elite Teach asks, how are you? I'm not going to lie, this question really was very kind. And you know what? I'm doing a lot better as a result of this question. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well also. Now, Insflayer1, please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Cloud, what is a soldier? A miserable pile of Mako? Throws glass on ground. But enough talk. How about you? Tifa, you know that I have to clean that mess up and pay for a new glass, right? Okay, I appreciate the Castlevania Symphony of Night reference. Huge kudos to you. Viddy's Gaming Videos, congrats on 10K. To you, what order should someone play the Final Fantasy games when discovering the series? How much JRPG would a JRPG if a JRPG could JRPG? Now, the last part of your question, the world may actually never know. This is a very difficult question. I will say this, Final Fantasy, almost to its detriment at times, it's constantly evolving and changing. I would say if you are more into like the action aspect of RPGs and such like that, definitely look at like Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy VII Remake, obviously. Those are great entry points. If you are really into retro games, I personally would majorly suggest to you starting out Final Fantasy 4, 5, or 6. I personally love 6 the most out of that run. If you're nostalgic for Nintendo, you're going to have a wildly different recommendation. I just think it's so contingent. I know for me, starting out at Final Fantasy VII as my first one, I've never looked back. I love it. Obviously, 8 and 9 are very beloved games. 10 is one of the most celebrated PS2 games there is. I think that's kind of the beauty of Final Fantasy is that there's really no bad place to start. Even if I might dissuade some from certain entries, there's still such rabid fan bases there. I would just say, and I know this is weird, just take a look at some of the characters and be like, hey, are they cool or not? Do you want to play that? Go for it. And, it's just a roll of the dice. That's what's cool about Final Fantasy. It's always evolving. Sorry if that doesn't really answer your question, Viddy's Gaming, but I appreciate your question. Ophidian Mind asks, I'm wanting to create an RPG, and I want to have a combat akin to the press turn system used in Shin Megami Tensei games. Would using a modified form of the SMT press turn system be a form of plagiarism, or should such a system be viewed as an innovation that other games can use, modify, and build upon? I've considered an alternative system in a similar spirit based more specifically upon gaining and losing turns from critical hits or misses, but I think that might still arguably be considered some form of a press turn system. So what I'm asking more specifically is if implementing the basic idea of a press turn combat system is a matter of merely being inspired by SMT, or is it inherently ripping off? If it is a matter of inspiration, then at what point would a game's combat system cross the line of ripping off that of another game? This is an excellent question. First off, I would love to see this combat system, this game that you're making. It sounds really cool. I do love this question, and it's tough because I think games are already looking at this question you've asked and essentially answering it. Because I think the press turn combat system is a feature. It's such a massive leap forward in gaming innovation that I don't think it. Unfortunately, it's so successful and it's so effective. I think whether Atlas would like it or not, it's already being done. You can kind of see similarities of this being used and implemented in different variations of their own game. If you look at like SMT Strange Journey, where it has, if you hit a weakness, it has a different outcome than just adding turns. But I love it, and I think it can be argued that games like Octopath Traveler or even Bravely Default have modified versions of this in theory. So I don't think it's plagiarism by any sort. I think it is kind of almost like a love letter and a thank you to the combat system for how innovative and excellent it is. Because, sometimes things are too great to just kind of keep them bottled up. Now, I think you can see this put in even more so in practice from the Dark Souls games. There's games that are even a genre that is called Souls-like, and I would love to see JRPGs blow up and become so popular that we could see SMT-like JRPGs. That would be my ideal timeline that I want to be in. But again, let me know if you ever make this game, and I will definitely play it. Scott Pilgrim asks, your top 10 favorite RPGs of all time, with today's knowledge applying retroactively. Also, congrats on 10K. This is where the snowball starts to pick up speed. Thank you. I appreciate it. And this is an excellent question. I'm actually replaying some games that I had kind of like played years ago and haven't touched in so long. I'm replaying Morrowind right now. So I've been kind of re-asking myself what are my favorite RPGs of all time. I don't think I can put like the entire 10 in a numerical list just yet, but to just kind of answer your question with a couple honorable mentions put in here, I would say Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Tales of Arise, Dragon Quest XI's, Chrono Trigger, Dark Souls. I consider that an RPG. Some people get really mad at me about that, and Zelda Breath of the Wild, but again, that would be on there as well. Radiant Historia, Final Fantasy VI, Persona 5 Royal, and Final Fantasy VII and 7 Remake. Now, the big honorable mentions I want to put in here would be Elder Scrolls Morrowind. The world building in that game is just mind-blowing, and it sucks me in. Persona 4 Golden, God, I friggin' love that game, and as time goes on, I just love it even more. And then obviously Skyrim. I think Skyrim's constant re-releases and ports kind of made me in a way forget just how jaw-dropping that game was when it came out. But again, I love RPGs. They're my favorite genre by far. Next question. If you come across a JRPG that you start to not like, say you're over halfway through, how do you take that? What do you enjoy most about the content you're creating? I would say there was a point, at least in 2019 and 2020, that if I started a game, I was going to beat it. And I held to that for a long time. And I can honestly say, if you're diving into a game and you just don't like it, there's so much out there. Everybody's different. There's people out there who sing the praises of some games to me, and I don't talk about them on the channel just because they're not for me. And that's okay. And being able to just admit that, hey, everybody's different. Everybody has different tastes, and not every game is going to be for us. So I would just say, for me personally at this point, I give it the good old college try. I'll give it, multiple hours. I'm still a slow learner. I will give a lot of chances, but if I'm sensing it's just not jiving with me, it's on to the next now. What do I enjoy most about the content I'm creating? I would say just being able to connect and talk to people in the comments. That's really what's keeping me going at this point. There's a lot of people I just love interacting with each week. So I would say that, and I'm always loving talking about JRPGs and RPGs. I literally can't get enough of it. If I'm not making a video about it, me and my friends are texting about it. Flame Strip says, congrats on reaching 10K. I don't know if this is a good question, but you're trapped within an abandoned city, surrounded by demons. You only have 5 games. Any genre from consoles are allowed to pass through your entertainment. What would those games be for you? I would say, for being in such a dark and dire situation, I would probably mostly try to pick something to keep my mind off of it. And by that, I think probably the game I should be playing would be like Doom, just so I can get some tips on how to take care of this demon infestation. But knowing me, I'm going to pick some RPGs. So I would definitely, I think in this situation, I would probably gravitate towards some comfort food gamings. Maybe an Animal Crossing in there just to help me keep myself a little bit calm. Zelda Breath of the Wild, just to have kind of a happy, fun world to escape to while I'm hiding and fearing for my life. Third, I think in this situation, I would pick Metal Gear Solid, because knowing me, I'm probably going to have to sneak out of the city eventually, so I could use some tips on how to properly hide in some cardboard. I'll throw in Demon's Souls as well for the PS5, just to give me the proper hand-to-hand technique combat on how to fight demons if I'm captured. And lastly, I'm going to throw in Final Fantasy VI, because I've been meaning to replay it, and if I have to hide for a long time, what better time to sit down and play Final Fantasy VI again? Sir Latino Fire, congratulations on the upcoming milestone. I've enjoyed the content that you have brought forward, and I can't wait to see what the future brings. Not certain if this question has been asked before, but what drove you to start a YouTube channel? Cheers. Again, the driving factor was definitely that I just wanted to vent and share just my crazy passion about games. But, you know, the more I think about it, there definitely was an element of I wanted to see if I could do it. And I wanted to commit myself to a hobby where I would be forced to create and pour myself into a project to kind of keep my mind focusing on problems to solve and such like that. Kinko asks, early congrats on 10K. I'm curious if you have any go-to strategies or tips for completing games on your backlog. You're definitely a busy dude, and you seem to consistently be completing JRPGs. Thanks again, Kinko, for all the support. And I really, for me, there was a level of stubbornness that I had that I would tell myself I'm going to play at least an hour to 2 hours of this game every night, and then that would usually turn into something more. I do suffer from insomnia in a lot of ways. It's gotten a lot better, which is probably why I've been slowing down how fast I'm able to get through some JRPGs. But I would always mainly focus on story, but I did like to complete side quests. So that can be where it's difficult. But the biggest key is that I always try to game mobily. I really slow way down if I have to sit down in front of a console and I can't maybe be out with the family at night with maybe the Switch in my hands and such like that. And the way I would capture footage and make notes is I would use the Switch's video capture feature, and then I would just sit down and upload it to my computer through the Elgato later. Another big thing is I don't often watch TV or movies. I very rarely get in the mood to watch a movie or channel, so a lot of times the family will be watching something and I'll be playing a game and being able to socialize with them, but being able to pour a lot of mental focus on the game. And I will admit at times here recently I've been trying to slow myself down because it does feel like I'm just playing a game and trying to beat it as optimally and as fast as I can. And I don't like that feeling. I love being lost in games. So I'm trying to actually address that problem right now. So Champ Dancer 19 asks, congratulations on 10K. What's your favorite collector's edition and or special video game memorabilia that you own? Now, this is going to be one kind of out of left field, but many years ago, my father got me a sealed, complete in-box copy of King's Quest VI for the computer, and honestly, it was such a thoughtful gift. It has always held the highest place in my heart in my whole gaming collection. I love it a lot. Outside of that, after my brother passed, I don't know if this counts as kind of a collector's edition, but my friends had his character from World of Warcraft made into a figure. So I've always kept that and treasured that, and even though it's not collector's edition or anything related, I would say in terms of gaming memorabilia, that's something I could never part with. I mean, that one just touched my heart. But very unique questions. Thank you so much for asking. B Mystery asks, okay, I've been saving this question for a time like this. Name a video game character that defines you, flaws and or merits too. So glad to see it grow so well. Thank you so much for all the excellent questions every week and every video. I genuinely look forward to these. This is definitely your toughest question yet, and I very much appreciate it. I would say Edgar from Final Fantasy VI. In terms of merits, I've always loved the relationship that Edgar has with his brother, and me and my brothers are very close. I love them to death. And I would do anything for them. I would have done anything to help them. In terms of his flaws, I will admit I'm not necessarily that self-absorbed or that much of a ladies' man, although I did snag a gorgeous, beautiful, brilliant woman. However, yeah, that's a tough one. But I think just with the relationship he had with his brothers, I gotta land with Edgar. Thank you so much for that one. Silent Cyan, sorry for the pronunciation. What series that you've never played but really want to get into? When did you plan to play or try them out? And this is just a gentle nudge to play Bayonetta. Oh my gosh, you are so right. I have got to make time to play Bayonetta, and I would definitely say that one. Outside of that, I'm still really needing to play Grandia HD, and as much as I'm wanting to play Bayonetta, I have been telling myself I'm going to try Grandia for a long time. I finally have the HD collection on Switch. I'm going to be playing that, and I need to pick up the Bayonetta games. You know what? I need to make that a top priority for the coming months, so thank you. I'm making the challenge to myself now. Sean Lynch, which JRPG story do you think touched you the most? The one that showed you what unique and incredible stories, concepts, philosophies could be found in these kind of games. And congrats on 10K. Thank you. This is such a good question and gives me another chance to talk about Xenogears. Xenogears, to me, I think it showed the vast scope that games could tell. Because up until this point, I will admit, I've always found myself gravitating to personal stories. And I never really thought of like the grand commentary that games could offer on games. Obviously, Metal Gear Solid was a big part of that. But in terms of JRPGs, Xenogears really just has this profound insight to man's relationship with each other, with God, with religions. And honestly, having beaten it so long ago, I'm still reeling and thinking about the implications of that story. Another one that I would have to give a special shout out to is Persona 3, and just facing the inevitability of our own deaths. That is something that, you know, as I get older, and especially as I'm a father, it's something that I think about and worry about constantly. So, you know, commentary like that just really hit home for me. But excellent question. And lastly, we have Luke Delameter's question. How exactly did you come to enjoy the JRPG genre? Any fond memories that you'd like to share? Now, I would say the massive one would be Final Fantasy VII, and me and my brothers playing that. But even more so than that, I think as time has gone on, JRPGs, Japanese culture, and just kind of the lessons and stories and the types of heroes that we can see in there have really resonated with me, because I've kind of grown a little disenfranchised with the West and its constant portrayal of very dark, evil stories where heroes are not only brutalized and dismembered and savagely destroyed, or they become monsters themselves. That story trope has kind of been beaten into a pulp with me. Now, I know a lot of people might try to critique JRPGs for this or that, but I think the opportunity for classic good versus evil stories shines so bright within JRPGs, and it makes me feel like a kid again, and a major reason why I just can't get enough of them. And I still love those classic good versus evil tales. The fact that if the heroes try hard enough and they band together, there's not an obstacle they can't overcome. And obviously, I like when that formula is mixed up a little bit, but I would just say that it is definitely my happy place when it comes to gaming. So, again, thank you all so much for all these excellent questions. Thank you for every sub. Thank you for every comment. It has been truly an honor to start this journey, and even though the journey had a lot of twists and turns I wasn't expecting, I wouldn't change it for anything. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video finds you well, and I will see you all next time.